Ever wonder how certain items get to page numero uno on Amazon? What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Fervent 4. Did you know that only 4% of businesses ever cross the annual $1 million revenue mark? I'm Zack Miller, author of Anomaly, and with me today I have my co-host Tim Ryan, lead man at startwheel.org. Thank you so much for joining us. The Fervent 4 is a weekly show each and every Thursday at 11 a.m. dedicated to sharing insights into growing a world-class business no matter the climate. So did you want to get better on Amazon? I'm sure that you do. Insert Nick Shucet. Nick, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Excited to be here.
This is where we clap and we're like super excited. We haven't I don't know how to bring in the background noise to do that yet, but it's confetti. Yeah, you're the second person who's asked for confetti. I got to figure out how to do that.
All the pop-up forms on the websites, that seems to be the new trending thing. You submit your email and like the confetti comes out.
That's a good point. So Nick, do you remember the first thing you ever bought on Amazon?
The first thing I ever bought on Amazon for personal use?
Way back when? Do you like let's go through let's try to unwind all the details, the year, how much you paid in shipping for it, what it was.
Yeah, shoot, man. There's no way I'd remember something like that.
Any idea how long ago?
I'd say it's definitely probably like 6 years.
And so, I guess going into tell everybody what you do, how you got started, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, so I actually got started through kind of struggling a little bit. You know, I was working as a plant operator at the Hampton Roads Sanitation District in Newport News, and I was doing shift work. And I had just had a son. My first son had been born, and the shift work wrecked me. Like, you know, depression, just like irritable, and, you know, not being able to be there with my kid and no steady schedule, like really, really messed me up. And my relationship kind of actually started to fall apart, and we ended up going our separate ways. And I had moved my grandmother in with me. My grandfather had passed away. I moved my grandma in. You know, I had my son's mom was in the house so she could help take care of my grandmother while I was away at work at night. So when that relationship split, you know, my grandmother couldn't live there anymore. And, you know, I was coming home to this big, dark, empty house. And, you know, I was sleeping during the day, working at night. It was just a nightmare, man. And I actually fell asleep at the wheel 3 different times driving home from work. Luckily, I never hurt anyone else, never hurt myself. But the third time I was like, this is enough, you know, like having a decent job with benefits, it's just not worth it. And I didn't see it getting any better. So I actually kind of stepped down from that position a little bit and took basically like a glorified janitor job at the sanitation district. And a couple weeks in, I was like, I can't do this. You know, like I just felt like I had too much other things I needed to be out there doing. So I quit, started a landscaping business with a friend of mine. I got a loan for 20 grand, bought a Bobcat, and he had some work, like he had already had a business. So I was like, let's make something happen, man. Went absolutely terrible. He didn't make any changes. You know, he was getting deposits for products and inventory, and he's like spending it, you know, like at the bar that night. And I'm like, oh man, like this is not going to go well. And this was a longtime friend of mine. And yeah, you know, it exploded. Things went bad. Our friendship's never been the same. And I pretty much just lost 20 grand. Had to move back in with my father for a while, and had a hard time getting a job. It was the middle of winter, so like I couldn't do any of my own landscaping really, unless I wanted to rake leaves and stuff like that.
What time frame is this, do you think? Do you
this
remember?
was like 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, this was like 2014. So I moved back in with him. And my buddy told me about this thing, drop shipping on eBay. And there was this training you would pay $20 for. Like, I think I maybe had around $20 like in a credit card. I didn't have very much money. Luckily, I didn't have to worry about food or housing because my dad took care of me. So I gave it a shot. I was like, whatever. You know, I had been to interview, couldn't get a job. So I really see all of those struggles and all of those no's were really just setting me up for this opportunity to build an online business.
Everything happens for a reason. That's my favorite quote. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I gave it all I had. I paid the $20, went through the training, got involved in a Facebook group, asked a lot of questions from people who had been successful with this program. And I was fortunate enough to have a friend who had actually, he was making a living off this situation. And like 3 months in, I think I sold a hat. It was my first sale was a hat on eBay. I made like 17 cents or something like that. But then it kind of just snowballed and it took off and I made $500. So I paid $500 for the training on how to do this on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And I just went at it the same way. Like on eBay, it was just list, throw stuff up. So I did the same thing on Amazon. And back then on Amazon, you had to have 90 days to get into the buy box, which, the buy box is like the billboard driving down the interstate compared to like the roadway sign or the mile per hour sign. Like it's where you want to be. So 90 days.
90 days of what though?
90 days of selling history. So like, I think I got one sale a few days in, and then that 90-day clock started from then.
Got it. So they want to make sure that you're the real deal.
Yeah.
And they still do that even with their affiliate program too, where like if you don't make a percentage of what's necessary, they don't want you to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think you have like 3 months or 6 months to get like one affiliate sale, or else they close your account. And they've gotten a lot more strict now. Like it's a little tougher to get started on Amazon. Definitely still a good business to get into, but honestly, the restrictions they've put in place are in our favor. I think you got a lot of international competition, and those guys are just like, the amount of effort that they put into gaming the system is just absolutely insane. But yeah, 90 days in, man, I got that buy box. I had the little cha-ching sound on my phone. And I remember it was like, ch-ch-ch-ch-ch, like it couldn't even finish the ching because I was just getting like sale after sale after sale. And then Amazon actually suspended my account because I did like $5,000 in sales that day. And they wanted to make sure I was going to ship that stuff out.
Oh, wow.
It was going to be legit. I think it was like it was a sewing machine, a Singer sewing machine.
Was there a reason why that one just started to pop?
I don't really know, man. Like if I went back and looked at it, I could probably figure it out. Like we look at the best sellers ranking. So like pretty much every product on Amazon has a BSR, a best sellers ranking number. The closer to 1 that number is, the faster that item sells. So the ranking on that one, but that may have not even been it, man. Like it could have just been kind of right time, right place thing. You never really know when someone's just going to randomly buy an item, even if it is a slow seller.
So is that a strategy now? So you just look at that BSR and then you just go on a scavenger hunt and start buying whatever you can and then selling it on Amazon?
Yeah. BSR is a very good indicator of how quickly something will sell, and it really depends on the category. Like I could say, top 1%, you're playing it pretty safe if you're in the top 1% of a category. Through experience, though, I can say like, hey, in clothing, shoes, and jewelry, if you get an item ranked under 50,000, you're pretty much guaranteed to sell that item, like in 30 days. And then once I get a little more experience with an item, I can see that it's at like 15,000 BSR. So maybe I know I can sell like 150 of those in a month. So once you kind of get this game going and you start paying attention to what you're doing, it's, you're not really rolling the dice anymore. It becomes really low risk, depending on the product, the brand, the category, and things like that.
And that's fascinating. Before we go into the next question, though, I have to ask, how fun is it rolling around in a Bobcat?
Oh man, that was a blast.
I think that's every childhood boy's dream.
Yeah, clearing out, just massive amount of dirt, digging holes, knocking trees over. I did enjoy that type of work.
In the cold?
Not in the cold, man. Definitely not in the cold. I'm not a fan of the cold weather.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I saw frost this morning and I cried.
Yeah, it was cold, man. I'm a big surfer, and year by year, I surf less and less in the wintertime, even though that's usually when the waves are best.
So, yeah, back to your story. I'm curious to know what Amazon gets such a bad rap in terms of like killing retail. Is it a matter that retail doesn't know how to leverage Amazon, or is Amazon actually the bad guy in the sense of they're killing retail? I mean, what's your take as someone who kind of knows and has had a look behind the curtain of Amazon?
Yeah, I think Amazon definitely changed the game as far as how individuals expect shopping to go down. People expect to get the best price. They expect to be able to return that item with no hassle. They expect to get it very quickly. So Amazon kind of made online shopping more of a retail experience, because now people can actually like try stuff on and send it back if they don't like it. And they know they're kind of getting like a really good price on items. So I think what Amazon really did was make things real convenient for customers, whereas it really didn't used to be. And where retail kind of falls short is they're just not really able to do some of those things that Amazon does, right? Because maybe who knows how much they're paying a month to have their building or whatever else their situation may be. So what I really think a smart retailer would do is go omni-channel and sell on Amazon Marketplace, sell on Walmart Marketplace. Because what I see happen a lot of times when we onboard a new brand is they actually want to take care of their brick and mortar sellers. Because we'll say, hey, like, what are these retail sellers doing for your online presence? Oh, they're not doing anything. They're not spending any advertising.
Why do you think so many people it seems like so many retailers are like so timid, so shy, so against, the A to the Z, if you will. What's interesting though is like I'll support small businesses as much as I can, but like there are some items that are like, let's say an item is $130 and I can get it somewhere else quicker for $103. Like it's I get it. It's $27, but I mean, like that's $27. I mean, like that adds up. You do that 50 times in a year. I mean, that's what do they say? Cold hard American cash, right?
Yeah.
So, like, is it just because the numbers don't add up in that kind of case? Like, why do you think so many retailers are so against the e-commerce side of it? Even just e-commerce, it seems like they're against.
Yeah.
Right. Like, what? Like, do you have any? Do you think there's a reason behind that? They're just afraid of it. Like, what are you saying?
Yeah, I think part of it is because it's still kind of new.
I mean, it's not. Come on.
Well,
it's not that new. You cannot say that buying something online in 2020 is new.
Well, I think just a lot of these people who have had brick and mortar businesses for 20 or 30 years, they just don't really fully understand the e-commerce model, and that it's really about volume and not charging more to a select small group of people, like in a local radius, right? So I think that's where a lot of retailers kind of miss the mark is, hey, when you list something online, you're not reaching someone just in your zip code. You're reaching people all over the country. And I think that's where people kind of miss the mark when it comes to putting a number on how much you're going to sell an item for, because they don't really have faith that it's going to make up for it in volume.
So in their case, though, they might not be a volume business where they have the capacity to do that. How do they get around that, right? So if they only have five items or five pieces of quantity of one item, that quantity that you're talking about, how do they fulfill that in that kind of case?
So what do you mean?
So like if they're trying to sell quantity and they're afraid of having quantity that doesn't ship, then they're sitting on hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of product, where in Amazon's case, they got tens of millions of dollars sitting in a plant all the time, in a warehouse all the time. They know it's going to ship at some point. They don't care.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure they care, but you get my point.
Yeah.
So how does in the small business that you're trying to convince to go online, to use an Amazon or to just do e-commerce, but quantity is the game, how do they fulfill the quantity aspect of that without having to buy the quantity aspect of it?
Yeah. And I think that's where you got to pick up the phone and negotiate with your suppliers and say, hey, we've done some research. We think we've been selling 100 units of this item in our store monthly. We think we can sell 3,000 a month if we go on Amazon. But hey, I don't want to buy 3,000 units from you right now. I want to buy like 300. Or hey, can you drop ship these products to our customers if we list this product online? Because the inventory is already at the supplier's spot. So if they can just ship it directly to the customer, that's one way to go. But I think the best case scenario there is picking up the phone, having some numbers in front of you, and putting together a mutually beneficial situation to mitigate.
How would you define drop shipping? Just because I think a lot of people still are pretty unclear on that.
Yeah, that's when a supplier or manufacturer ships the product to your customer. So yes, say that you're buying,
So I don't get the product first.
Right.
Then I don't get to put my little swag bag on it. I don't get to personalize it the way that I want to, or maybe I can.
You can. Some people will do that for you. Mm-hmm. Like we've got a company. I just signed up with a new company for our supplement business that they're going to drop ship supplements with our labels on them and everything. So it's our product, it's our branding. They ship it straight to the customer. This is really how a lot of those shirt companies operate, the print on demand companies. You put a logo up there, you design your shirt, but when someone orders it, they just ship it to your customer. What
advice would you give to someone that's in retail right now? Is this something that I'm sure that there's a ton of rules with Amazon. Is a retail brick and mortar store able to have a presence on Amazon and have their bricks and mortar up and running?
And brick and mortar stores are actually, they have some leverage because like I mentioned, these brands really appreciate their retail partners. And if you just say, hey, we want to sell this stuff on Amazon, they'll probably let you. Or you could say, hey, we've been selling this stuff. Like, go ahead and sell some units. Like, hey, we just went ahead and listed this stuff. We sold all of them in a day. We want to get more. We want to.
Well, I saw too recently that they opened Amazon opened their first, I don't know what it's called, some store in Raleigh. And they take some amount of popular SKUs in the area and put that in that place for a week or a month or something like that, which would be interesting to see if that is a benefit to the local, retail small business, or if that hurts it. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, like I feel like retailers, restaurants, every kind of business out there need to be thinking, okay, like, yes, you open the business for a reason, but the person who's paying you is the person who all that really matters in that case. And so what can you do to make it super convenient for them? And that's all that matters. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, people don't want to hear that, but I mean, if I can, and it's hard. I get it. It's hard to compete with Amazon when you don't have to get in your car, drive 5 miles to go somewhere, and you can get that thing the next day anyway, and it's not that important. And in many cases now, you can get that thing in 2 hours if you're willing to pay for it. Like, and then with COVID, I mean, that's a totally different story.
I mean, that said, I'm just trying to think of this as a business owner. I would be, if I knew that I had inventory building up in a certain SKU, I mean, to me, I would say, hey, this is a great time to leverage Amazon, that maybe I can get rid of some inventory off of my shelves and leverage Amazon. So I would think that would be a winning situation. Is that accurate?
Yeah. If you do the research and, and if you're able to sell the products, Amazon's got some hurdles they're going to make you jump through for specific brands. It's kind of tough to you can't really just start an Amazon account and go and sell Nike products anymore. You've got to kind of show Amazon that you're the real deal, and they'll ungate you in those brands. So sometimes that can be a hurdle, but if you're a brick and mortar store and you've been buying from this brand and you have invoices and history, then you submit that stuff to Amazon and they say, okay, you're good to go. You can send some stuff in.
So let's say that I'm a business. I'm willing to sell. I'm approved on Amazon, all of that stuff. Explain to me Roman's Tide, the inspiration kind of behind that, and the elevator pitch, if you will.
Yeah, so Roman's Tide is a brand management company for brands looking to expand their online presence, whether it's on Amazon, a Shopify store, or like the Walmart marketplace or whatever else pops up. And it's just a better way it's just another way to build your presence, get more brand awareness, get more revenue through your business, reach more customers. And I think it's just a great vehicle to really get your brand known and make some good money in the process.
Why do you think some companies are doing well in business online and some are not? Amazon or not?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is one thing we really try to tackle at Roman's Tide is educating our clients on some of the kind of dirty tactics that go on behind the scenes, because you can do a lot of the right things and you can know marketing and you can know advertising and still fail on Amazon because maybe you're in a really competitive niche and there might be some guy with an office in China with hundreds of people in there just writing fake reviews or something. This stuff is actually happening and going down, and if you kind of just choose to ignore it and not take action in some way, you're not going to get the results that you want to get on Amazon.
Are there police from the review settings of that? Because I feel like you can go on Amazon and when you're reading some of the stuff, you just look and you're like, people complaining about oh, the box came dented. It's well, what's in the box? And they give it a 1-star review. I'm like, so is there any kind of policing on Amazon for stuff like that?
There is, and I think they're just a little too big to handle it properly yet at this moment. But they do certainly throw a lot of, terms of service stuff at us when it comes to asking for reviews. You can't even really put an insert in your packaging, but you kind of can if your language is written a certain way. And then they're always changing what that situation looks like. But like I mentioned earlier, there's some businesses that devote a substantial amount of time and resources into figuring out how to get around these things. And what we found at Roman's Tide is if you don't want to play dirty, that's cool. And we don't necessarily support that or tell people they need to do that. But what we do say is you need to be focused on building a brand and an audience that's loyal to your brand. Because if you have loyal people going to Amazon and shopping for your products and writing reviews, then that's how you can combat against these companies who are just trying to make $1 on Amazon through gaming the system.
Well, one of the biggest challenges, so I have a book, Anomaly, How to Finally Stand Out from the Crowd. That was the worst pitch ever for a book. You can find it on Amazon. Just type my name, Zack Miller. No, I'm just, so one thing that I can't stand is that I don't know who's bought my book. So allegedly my dad bought 6 books for his clients and gave them out. Maybe you've bought it before. I have no idea. Tim, the only reason I know Tim has one is because I hand delivered it and I see it behind him. Right. So, but I can't stand that I don't know who's bought a book. I know that someone has bought a book because I can see that, the thing is up on my account, but I don't know who, I don't know where, and stuff like that. Is there any way around that? Is that just a book thing? Does that change when people are selling products? Because I know for me, if I was a retail shop and I couldn't contain that stuff, that would, or in general, I just can't stand the fact that I can't just thank someone for buying a book. I feel bad, and so is there any way around that? Have you seen anything around that?
Yeah, it's Amazon doesn't consider, if you have a store and you put yourself up on Amazon and an Amazon customer buys a product, Amazon considers it their customer, not yours. So like if you do FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, where you send products into their warehouse, all you're going to see is like the name on the order. And I think you see the address like temporarily. They encrypt the phone numbers now, so you're not even going to see their phone number. If you're doing FBM, fulfilled by merchant, and you're sending out those orders yourself, then you're going to see the address. They're still encrypting the phone number. And then if you have like a sales tax software, you can see that information there as well. So you can see who purchased your book there. And then I think after like 30 days, that information disappears. But yeah, Amazon doesn't really like us to have that information, and we're not supposed to do anything with it. But there's plenty of people that are.
The best part about Amazon you can't get.
Yeah. Because I mean, my wife bought something recently, and we got, I don't know if it was in the package itself or we got something later, and it was like, hey, give us a 5-star review and we'll give you a coupon code for 99% off your next purchase. I mean, that just is that a practice that normally happens, or is that kind of, like you said, gaming the system?
Yeah, that's definitely gaming the system. You know, it's definitely against terms of service, but that's what's going down. Yeah.
I've seen one right now. Like I bought resistance bands because, you know, the gym is closed, or I'm not going to the gym, and I'm looking at it, it says, thank you, not, or where does it say? We are committed. So if you're not 5-star happy, blah, 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 please leave us a positive review. If you enjoyed our service commitment to your satisfaction, please leave us a positive review on Amazon. So they put this on the back of their little pamphlet. That's what I look like, by the way, without a shirt on. Just want to let everyone. It's fake news. It's a joke, people. Come on. But you know, like you put this on the back of something, like so that's technically illegal.
It's against terms of service to ask for a review now.
What'd your wife buy? We don't want to know, Tim. I don't. Christmas presents. Christmas presents.
Eyelashes.
Eyelashes. If you like these eyelashes, give it a 5-star review. Interesting. So our review, what, and I know this constantly changes, but what's like the number one thing that can help a brand increase their kind of ranking, if you will, on Amazon? Is it reviews?
Yeah, reviews are definitely the most critical factor there. And then, you know, just having a good conversion rate on Amazon, which can be hard to track. But, you know, if you look at the business reports in the back end, you can see how many sessions you're getting, which is, you know, people looking at your product. And then if you can kind of understand how many, you know, if 100 people are looking and, you know, 25 people are buying, and you've got that 25% conversion rate, then that will allow you to kind of identify the sweet spot for your product in that specific category and kind of where you want to be. And you can build a strategy around that idea of identifying that conversion number.
One of the things that's interesting to me is the price fluctuation that occurs. Is that an algorithm thing, or is that a supply and demand based thing? Or
yeah, so it's definitely supply and demand, and there's a great tool that even consumers can use on Amazon called Keepa. I think it's like $10 a year for a subscription. Great tool to use in the business, but it also allows you to see a price history in a graph, and like how low a price has gone. So if you're looking to buy a new computer monitor or something and you want to get the best price, you can look at Keepa, see how low that price has gone. Maybe you'll even see that the price drops every month. And you can see the date, and you say, hey, I'm gonna wait a few days because I think this price is gonna go down. You can even set up alerts to come to your Facebook Messenger. You know, hey, I want to get an alert when this monitor drops below $100. And as soon as it happens, they'll send you a Facebook message, and you can go out and buy your product. And that also allows you to see, so from a business perspective, you can also see the sales rank history. And that is really the major deciding factor when you're looking to resell items on Amazon.
You may know him as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I know him as just a man who has done incredible things for the last few decades. But how can you use his techniques in your business, I'll show you exactly how. Head on over to ZackMillerSays.com/The Rock, and you can smell what he's cooking. How did I do? Was that a good commercial? Did you like that?
That was awesome. Yeah.
I haven't watched that in a little while. I forgot what it was like. I was like, oh, there you go. That actually took me 7 takes to perfect. Not because I couldn't, get it out every time. It was the angle of the camera to make sure you had The Rock, sitting there and you could see him. And you're like, oh yeah,
yeah. That was cool.
Do you sell any of The Rock's products? Or have you helped The Rock at all? I mean, he's only like the second sexiest man alive, apparently.
Yeah, no, he's totally my man crush. I love The Rock.
How could you not? You guys have. Honestly, you weren't a professional football player, and you only had $20. He had $7, but or $8, something like that. But do you think that? I wasn't thinking about asking this question as I was going into this, but do you think that like hitting that rock bottom and having a couple bucks and getting out of it is why you've been able to see the success through, because you don't want to go back to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have a big motivation to not go back to living like that. And, it also keeps me kind of like taking risks and chasing things down, because in my head, things can never get as bad as they were. I've kind of protected myself from something like that ever happening again. So it really allows me to take risks, try new things, and just keep chasing the dream.
Yeah. So for context, you started this, you said 2014-ish?
Yeah.
With $20 to do some initial training. And how much have you done in sales within the last 6 years?
We've done about close to 7 million in revenue on Amazon.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you've learned a lot along the way. I'm sure that there's people that are probably now approaching you to say, hey, teach me what you've learned along the way. Is that something that you help local businesses or help people do to start their own Amazon marketplace, if you will?
Yeah, I do. I've helped quite a few people get into reselling. I think that's like the lowest barrier of entry. You don't have to buy $5,000 worth of product or anything like that. You can get started on Amazon for like a $40 monthly subscription. You can go into your local Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Walmart, scan some products, and start making some money. And you can actually end up making a pretty good hourly wage, and have some freedom with your schedule. If you're someone who stays up all night, you can go into stores and scan all night long and come home with some inventory. And as you build your business, there's enough profit in it, to bring on someone to do prepping and packaging and things like that.
Does COVID change that at all? Make that worse?
Yeah, it absolutely did. We took a pretty big hit from COVID. One of our suppliers shut down. One of our reselling suppliers shut down for a while, and we lost a lot of revenue.
And did you think back about the days of the $20 in your pocket type of thing? Like when you go through something like that, like do you recall back from the bad days? Because I always try to like think about things like, okay, like when was it tough?
Yeah.
And so you're like, I don't want that to happen again. So what did you do to get out of it? Yeah, well, this is what I'm going to need to do.
Yeah. So
I guess the question is, what did you do when COVID hit?
Yeah, we shifted gears a little bit and looked into getting more wholesale contracts. So we did a whole bunch of lead generation for wholesale contacts, sent out a bunch of emails, made a lot of phone calls, which a lot of them were just like not very good contracts to have. But we did end up with a couple good ones, and I had some money in the bank. So I took that and I put it into our own brands. And I created 2 of our own brands with some of our own products to get that going, because what I'm working towards now is building these Amazon brands with the intention of selling them in a couple years, because there's these marketplaces where you can list your brand for sale, and people are buying them at like 4 to 5x multiples, just like crazy right now. So that's what I'm working towards.
When it comes to saving money and having money saved away, like how do you determine how much you save, as a sale comes in, and how do you How do you break that through? Have you ever read like the book Profit First?
Yeah, that's what we use.
Okay.
So I take when I get a disbursement from Amazon, I take 10% and put it away. And that's what we've been doing. And that's really helped me because that's
10% just the profit in that case, plus all the other things in there. So of that 10%, is that the, and we'll get into what Profit First is in a second, but so of that 10%, is that kind of the baseline that you decided, or is that something that, because Profit First has a resource guide of something like, here are this style of companies. Is that what online affiliate businesses are at 10%, or profit wise? What are they? How'd you come up with that 10% number?
Yeah, so like when I first started the book, I just did 1%. I was taking 1% out, and then we were able to work it up to 10%. Because like our margins are usually for reselling around like 18 to 22%. So I just decided I was going to do 10% for the profit, take that out. And we've got a bank account with Marcus Savings. So it's kind of like hard to get money out of it.
Right. And that's the whole thing behind them, is make it hard.
Yeah.
The Profit First model. Tim, are you familiar with Profit First?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So Profit First is I say it's like the digital model of the envelope method, where and if a lot of accountants will tell you that, your profit is just some arbitrary number that they come up with at the end of the year. That was my favorite line of the book. It's like, I don't know, some number we came up with. So you take that profit out first instead of taking that profit out after everything else. It allows you to really make sure that you, as the business owner, the person kind of taking that money out, that you are actually in the right, in the black instead of the red, if you will.
Right. Yeah. To Nick's point, yeah, I set up a separate account as well, that any revenue that comes into the business, 10%, just like Nick, goes right into that.
Do you do Profit First?
I do. Yep.
Oh, cool. What is Marcus?
But it's like, what is it? It was like they keep changing. It was like Goldman Sachs. It's just an online bank account. Mm-hmm. And they, at the time, they had a really good interest rate. They've dropped it significantly. But yeah, it's just an online bank account. It's a little hard to get your money out of, but now there's a bunch of online.
Yeah, 0.5%. Jeez, that's nothing. Remember when like you get like a CD for like 5%?
Not me.
Well, I remember as a kid. Jeez. But the whole idea is that that's hard to get that money out of that account. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So it's 2020. You want to sell some businesses into the future. How do you determine kind of what you need to do from the landscape to actually make that happen? Because I think a lot of people don't go into business thinking of that exit. And it sounds like maybe you did or didn't, but when you want to get out of the business because you don't want to go sip Mai Tais on a beach, internationally without a mask on at some point in the future, how do you start looking at actually selling the business so that you can do all those things?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to get involved with some really great business owners online, and I'm a part of this group. It's called $1 Million Sellers. And, these guys are just great entrepreneurs, and I'm following in the footsteps of them. I'm watching these guys build these brands, sell their businesses. And we have like weekly calls and masterminds and small groups. It's a group of about 500 people on Facebook. We have we had a lot of meetups before COVID, and we do events and things like that, but we're all just learning from each other and sharing things. And that's kind of one thing that I latched onto, as I saw these guys building these brands in like 2 or 3 years and selling them. So that's what I'm going after. So
do you pay into those groups? And is that something that you find that's super beneficial to pay into something rather than to get something for free? How do you feel around that?
Yeah. I think a good paid group is definitely worth the money. The key there is good, finding a good group, because there's certainly a lot of pretenders out there. But this one is a high level group. It's not cheap to be in it, but you can make that money back pretty easily off one good tip.
How do you determine what's a good group and what's a bad group? Because it sounds like you've been a part of some shady groups.
Yeah, I think it just really depends on, what your goals are and the direction that you're going, and then getting around like-minded individuals that are actually sharing information more so than kind of keeping it to themselves. And that's kind of what this group has been able to allow to happen is, you have to sign an NDA to be a part of it, right? Like they take a lot of actions and steps. They have an advisory board. We've got an advisory council meeting on Friday, actually. They just take it really, really serious, and they're really serious about bringing experts for weekly calls and mini workshops, kind of like Entrepreneurs operating system, if you guys are familiar with that, but just like niched down to the Amazon level.
Yeah, I've always thought that I'm not a big fan of people who watch Shark Tank and then are, the greatest consultants in the world, or people that have never run a business but will tell someone else how to do that. And I think a lot of people out there in the last 10 years or so have really become a business of that. And it's like you have no clue what you're talking about. And so it's I'm big on what you're doing with that perspective of validating the people out there. It's like, even if in its simplest of terms, you go to some meetup where you're pitching on a stage and you get to pitch your idea, and then you get a bunch of feedback from the crowd, and the crowd has no idea what they're talking about, yet the person on stage actually thinks that person does. I feel like you're hurting that business because you're giving unqualified information out there, because we live in the information world. And and look, you get what you pay for, right? If you don't pay for something, you're probably not going to get something great. If you pay for something and it's super qualified, sounds like it's a great group for you. So kudos to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Tim?
Yeah, I'm one of the questions that I have, and certainly not trying to play stump the chump here, but I was listening to a podcast this morning on my run, and they were talking about capitalism, and nowadays it seems to be an increasingly bad word to use. And the argument was made that innovation is really what capitalism is, and that Jeff Bezos or an Elon Musk gets a bad rap because Jeff Bezos got 156 billion sitting in the bank, and Elon Musk is now number 3 in the world's richest person.
Is this the Joe Rogan Whole Foods podcast?
Yeah. And talking about innovation, just in the sense of these guys are able to innovate and create different businesses, which creates a ton of jobs. And I'm just curious what your take is in terms of from behind the curtain of working with Amazon. I would imagine that Amazon has created a ton of people, but just in terms of what you do, I'm sure that has created tens of thousands of different jobs.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard for me to put a finger on what exactly causes people to think that way. I think sometimes people just like the idea of, hating something or not liking something. But, the fact is that Amazon, the majority of sales on Amazon are from small businesses. It's not from Amazon. Something like 70% of sales are from people like me that have a small business, just trying to make a living, trying to put food on the table, trying to have more time with their kids and things like that. So, in my opinion, Amazon's done more good than bad for the country, and it's created a lot of jobs and things like that. And I think people just need to, hey, how can I hop on the bandwagon? How can I get on this and ride this wave and be a part of it and learn from it?
Well, that 70% number is interesting, right? I mean, I don't think most people realize that.
Right.
Yeah. I see stuff going around right now saying, don't buy on Amazon, shop small and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've seen stuff like, and maybe things have changed in 9 months. And look, I don't own a restaurant, so I don't know this, but I've heard things like DoorDash is actually a pretty bad thing for a company because they're taking so much away after the percentages of the money that a restaurant doesn't make. And then you have to have something from a styrofoam perspective that's more expensive, yada, yada, yada. I don't know, right? But I mean, I see that they're supporting a lot of things, and a lot of people are ordering from them. When if a restaurant wanted to do their own delivery and carry out, they could probably figure out a way to do that themselves. But it pivot and figure it out. And I had never heard that was 70% of Amazon business that way. But when you probably actually get into the context of it, of course, like I get where that money's coming from. But it's, maybe that's something that people should market more, is like, hey, like Amazon isn't your worst friend. Like, and actually your product can get to that person faster than you would get it there. So maybe you should adopt it if you want to stay in business. Because if you don't, I think we have an idea of what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
So how do you, Amazon is just known for this constant innovation. How do you keep up with the innovation and stay current with everything that's happening?
Yeah, it's definitely by networking and surrounding myself with people who are a lot smarter than I am in certain situations. When it comes to software development and things like that, I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to those things. So I surround myself by people who excel in those situations and partner with them, and just try to stay in my lane, and focus on what I'm good at, and try not to get my hands in too many different things.
There's a saying out there that says you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, but every once in a while you are the smartest person in that room. So how do you handle a situation like that when Nick, you walk into that online or in-person room and you're like, yeah, I'm probably the smartest one. What do you do in that situation?
Yeah, I typically just try to talk to people, and if it's a situation where I'm going to be speaking to someone, try to be as helpful as possible and answer any questions that people have. I know a lot when it comes to Amazon, and there's a couple other things I'm pretty familiar with that I enjoy talking about, and I really love sharing information. I love helping other people. I like giving them the tools and answers they need to work towards their goals. So I'm pretty open, and I get excited about stuff like that.
The Fervent 4 is powered by the Small Business Development Center, which helps local small businesses grow through counseling. If you're interested in learning more on how the SBDC can help your business, head to startwheel.org/weekly. I was like, okay, like who's gonna ask the question? And then I was like waiting for Tim, and then I'm like, he's probably got jets over him. The jets don't fly over him ever during the day, he says. But then when the show's on, it's like my dog is good, almost all day. And then when I take him to my office, he goes nuts. I'm like, dude, come on. What are you doing? So what do you do outside of work? Like, what do you do for fun?
If the waves are good, surfing's my favorite thing to do. Exercise, I'm a big fat fan of exercise. I love researching about exercise and nutrition and things like that. That's my main passion. Just try to do stuff outdoors with the kids. But I don't get a lot of free time these days. Kids keep.
When it comes to exercise, what kind of exercise do you do?
I really like doing more strength-based exercises, so a little bit heavier weight, lower rep ranges. Yeah.
For you right here, resistance bands, the future on
it. We actually built a home gym in one of our bottom room. We got a squat rack and all that stuff when COVID.
Pre-COVID or COVID?
Post-COVID, yeah.
Yeah, the weights were expensive then.
Oh yeah, it took forever for that stuff to come in.
Yeah,
what's your typical day look like now, just as your business has evolved?
Yeah, so I start my morning. I usually start my morning with some meditation and a quick exercise and some journaling, and then that rolls into some time with the family. I usually make breakfast for the family, watch the World Surf League or the Red Bull channel before I go into work. And then when I get into the office, I might have a level 10 meeting because we do the entrepreneur's operating system. I've got a couple of virtual assistants in the Philippines. And then I've got a couple of local people I work with that are contractors for the business. So yesterday we were shooting video from 2 to 6 p.m. At my house and up at Mount Trashmore for our fitness brand. But my time is mostly spent in meetings, talking to other people, and networking. I do have some tasks that I still need to get done that, I've been lagging on.
So you have
go ahead, Zach.
So you have your own office, though? It's not at home?
I do. I got my own office this year. We've got 3 kids at the house, and it just got a little difficult.
So before you were doing it from the house, and then you realized at some point they were nagging you. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was at home up until, just a few months ago.
So in terms of like meditation, exercise, journaling, all that kind of stuff, is that something, are those habits you picked up based on the groups that you're part of?
So I actually got into, when I was younger, when I was a late teenager, I made a lot of mistakes, did a lot of stupid stuff, which I'm sure, most of us can relate, but I got myself in some.
Nope, I'm a perfect child. Never done anything bad in my life. Tim too. We're perfect. Sorry, Nick. We're just we don't understand what you're talking about.
I had to get out of Virginia Beach though, man, and I moved to Winchester, Virginia. My mom is from there, and I have some family there. And I took a job working for a organic community supported agriculture. And so we were growing vegetables and also started making biodiesel. And that kind of kicked off my passion into like health and nutrition and mindset. I was also going through a big change and really needed to make some changes in my life. So I really got into mindset and just started meditating. Started reading a lot and just like really getting into like the spiritual side of things, and just kind of developed my own little thing, and then I got into like Headspace. So now I just keep it simple and I use Headspace to meditate.
That's the app you use, Headspace. Yeah. So Tim had brought Jason Calacanis to Start Peninsula, which is like a build a company in a weekend competition about 2 or 3 years ago. And Jason was one of the early investors in calm.com, CALM.com, which is probably, I don't know, Headspace is #1 competitor, something like that. And he had told us how the guy would get put in, I don't know, what is it, 250 grand, and it's worth like 25 billion now. What are the numbers, Tim, or something like that?
Yeah, I can't remember what the latest valuation is, but it's billions.
Something ridiculous, something small to something ridiculous, right? And so it's interesting how something like that was, I always say, frowned upon. Meditation was frowned upon. People say it wasn't frowned upon. It just wasn't, people didn't know what it was. But even something that was done in a place before where you would meditate kind of or do yoga in a very simple place, now stuff like that gets sold online. It's wild how those businesses are digitizing and becoming multi-billion-dollar businesses in just a couple of years. So it's pretty fascinating stuff. How'd you learn about how did you learn about meditating? I know you were going through a bad time, but like, were you at like a facility? Not a facility. Were you at like a place where you would go and actually do that, or how did all that?
It kind of just hit me. Like, I don't really know where it came from, man. I was living in a house with a group of guys in Winchester, and like out of nowhere,
This is like the early 2000s?
Yep.
Wow, okay.
I just had this huge desire to like get into health and mindset and fitness. And I just chased it down. Like I would sit on the computer and like research stuff on PubMed all day after pulling weeds out on the farm all day long. And like, I was the happiest person ever.
It's interesting how all those things that have to do with exercise, health, and things like that, it seems to not be the talk of COVID. It seems to be a vaccine. It seems to be things that are a lot more uncontrollable, if you will. And obviously I'm not a doctor, but I was reading this article yesterday that came out of UVA that said, if you exercise a lot or some amount, it probably can help push COVID away. And it's interesting that that's not the kind of talk that you hear about with this. As someone who's so enthusiastic about fitness and things like that, I mean, does COVID scare you from that perspective, or do you feel like, I'm Nick Shucet, I got it? Like, how does Nick and COVID handle himself?
Yeah, I definitely, it's not something I'm super worried about personally. I wear the masks and I, maintain distance and stuff because I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. But I'm not too concerned about it on a personal level. And, you're spot on. Like, people don't talk about the things that are a little more difficult to implement, like, changing your diet up a little bit or committing to some exercise. I think people, when you talk about diet and exercise, they have these ideas that, it's these big changes they have to make, and it's like a completely different lifestyle. And really, something is doing a 10-minute walk each day can really have a big impact on your life. And if you take a look at it from like a habit perspective, I think that's where people need to focus is, building new habits, whether it's 1 week or 1 month at a time, instead of saying, I'm going to stop eating bacon. I'm going to work out 5 days a week. I'm not drinking beer. I'm going to stop smoking cigarettes. Like, trying to do all that at once is too hard, man.
Yep. I hear you. But it is interesting because it's not like fitness isn't a multi-billion, maybe even trillion-dollar business. So it's not like, or industry. So it's not like there's not opportunities there for them to be there. But I mean, I guess a lot of people have gym memberships and never show up. Yeah. So good for the gyms, but bad for I'm sure the gym wants you to actually show up and do something. Yeah,
I think that's what it is, people, they want to eat healthy. They want to exercise.
But they're not really willing to do it. They want it in a pill form. Right. They'd rather get COVID gone, buy a shot. Right. Got it. But I think that's why some people are successful in business and some people aren't, right? I think you can really pair everything to business, right? Life, fitness, COVID. And so it's like, well, how hard are you willing to do it, right? I mean, how many people's New Year's resolutions for 2020 were to get fit, right? Or something, right? Whatever it is. And then, starting, middle of March, the United States said, we need you to follow this instead. And they basically punted that. How hard did you want it, right? David Goggins wouldn't let you do that. I mean, come on. Do you know who David Goggins is?
Yeah.
He is definitely trying to stay hard during all these times.
Yeah. And, COVID messed me up. I had just had my third son, was born in March. And, my daughter was 2 years old. And like, me and my wife used to go to the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week. Daughter slowed that down. My son slowed that down. COVID hit. And like, I was up to like 225 pounds because all I was doing was working all day. And I felt like crap. So, I kind of leaned on being able to exercise to maintain my physique and be able to eat kind of whatever I wanted. But that changed and I had to take a step back, and I actually lost 30 pounds by doing just through diet, which I've never really done before, but I had to make the change because I was tired of feeling.
And what did that take? 3-4 months?
3 months. Yep.
Yeah. So it's a third of a pound a day, which isn't that crazy. And so it is interesting as you talk about this, like from a business perspective, right? So I kept thinking, and I didn't talk about this before, but it was like you made one sale, right? If you can make that one sale, 2 sales to then 3 sales, that compounding effect helps. And then you see a lot more money in your bank account. Same thing. If you can not eat that extra Halloween candy that's at your house, as I'm thinking to myself as I say this, right?
Yeah.
Like all those little things compound. And so it's so interesting how we make 30,000 decisions a day. And it's like that one little decision every single day to eat that, those 2 Starbursts that are just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
How it can affect you in such a negative way. So kudos to you for losing that 35.
Yeah. Thank you.
Tim, what are your thoughts?
I think you captured everything, Zach. What else is there to say?
I don't know. I mean, I think 3 guys with beards is pretty good.
2020 definitely seems to be the year of the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about? Or what's something on the horizon with Amazon or e-commerce that people aren't seeing that you think is going to be the future?
I think now's the time to jump into e-commerce. COVID, forced a lot of I'm trying to think of the way to say this. Like people had these estimations, these projections of how e-commerce was going to change, and COVID accelerated that immensely.
Yeah, I always say it was the things that were going to happen 7 years down the line. It just happened to happen now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now's the time to get in. Shipping's a little crazy and the fulfillment centers are a little crazy. So you got to be aware of that. But, you know, even if it's not Amazon, like, you know, set up your own store on Shopify. Makes it so easy, man. You don't need to talk to anyone else. Just go on Shopify, start a store, and follow all their prompts and stuff. I just did that again with a store, and I was blown away at how easy Shopify makes it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one of our previous guests, Nate Shucet, he manufactures swim pace clocks. I think he uses Shopify, and he didn't used to, or WooCommerce or something like that. And he's just like, yeah, they print the label and then I put it on the box. And by the way, when you use something like that, you save like 50% on postage. So it's wild. So
yeah,
Nick, it's been
Yeah, I was gonna say, if people are interested in like learning about how to resell, you know, definitely go check out the Arbitrage Blueprint. Like, that's everything I used to build the business. And I think it's just such a great way to learn business skills by selling on Amazon. You know, you're going to learn how to manage your money and how to hire an employee, how to manage an employee, and things like that. And when I look back on my journey, I see, because I've got a GED. Like, I didn't finish high school. I didn't go to college. Selling on Amazon was my crash course in business. And I'm just really grateful for it. And I think it can help a lot of people get started.
And you have $7 million in sales. So you did okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, pretty good. So, well, Nick, appreciate your time today. Looking forward to a ongoing relationship with you. And Tim, always good to see you. And it's cold out, so I'm going to go put like a winter jacket on, some gloves, because I'm freezing.
It's chilly, man.
Till next time, peace and pancakes, y'all.
All right, guys.